I'm doing well. How are you? A
I'm
little
doing
background
well
noise, probably. Maybe you
too.
should
I'm
keep
doing
it.
well too. Technology girl.
I
It's
know. No worries at all.
yeah.
I appreciate the invitation.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm a firm believer in things happening for a reason.
Okay.
And because and I don't mind going into my background a little bit about more of who I am and
Well,
everything like
hold on. I
that.
want you to do that because we need to, do all those things.
Yeah.
So
But this was
yeah,
just
I
such
want to
divine timing. This is so
exactly. This
divine.
is this is great. I saw your post and Happy New Year, by the way.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Welcome to the Sweet Spot with DeAnda. I am so glad to have you. I want you to fully introduce yourself and tell us where you are currently.
Sure. Well, I'm Sha'Niece. I am a native of Washington, D.C., and I live in Maryland right now, live in the D.C. area, grew up in this area. And wow, my background, it's a very interesting story. So I will try to keep it short and concise of how I got here, right?
Okay.
If that's okay, I can.
Oh yes, please, please, please. We want to know.
So yeah, so I started. I want to start by saying I've always loved travel,
Mm,
and I got it from my grandmother.
okay.
I was in like elementary school. My grandmother retired
Okay.
in her early 60s. I think back then I
Oh,
think she might have
wow.
retired at like 59 or something.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
know I know she wasn't even like deep in her 60s. But my grandmother, when she retired, and she was a nurse,
Oh,
she
okay.
stayed gone. My
Really?
grandmother oh yes, my
What
grandmother
great influence.
stayed traveling.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, um, my mom was a single mom, and so she would drop me off at my grandmother's house in the morning, and I would
Mhm.
walk to school, and my grandmother
Okay.
would be there to
Okay.
grab me.
Okay. I had that
But
that experience too. That was my life.
yeah,
Yeah.
but grandma wasn't there all the time.
Yeah.
And I vividly remember my grandmother like, well, I don't know what you're gonna do with Shawnee's this week because
Yeah.
I'm on a cruise here and I'm going
Yeah.
there. And she would collect magnets. So growing up, her kitchen refrigerator would just have
Was filled
all
with
of these
all the
magnets,
places.
all the places she had been. And
Yeah.
I remember being younger, you play with magnets
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
putting them in like alphabetical order
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
putting them in order by color or shape.
Yeah.
But I remember that so vividly as a kid. And so, and my grandmother was very big about it. She's like, travel, see the world. Like, my grandmother was big about like, don't let no one hold you back. Before
Yeah.
Drake made
Oh
YOLO
my
popular,
gosh.
when I was 18 and went off to college, my grandmother was like, look, you only live once.
You
You live
do.
it up, baby.
Yeah. Oh, I
So
love that, Grandma. Thank you. I
yeah,
love
my
that.
grandmother was very big about that. And so I've always had that spirit of like just
Yeah.
doing.
Okay.
But when I got out of college, it was during the recession when folks
Oh,
couldn't even find jobs, let
right.
alone the idea of travel just
Was
wasn't a
just not a
thing.
thing. Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
I went into education, which was not even actually what I went to school for, but again, job
Okay. Okay.
paid.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
came through insurance.
Yeah.
And so travel at that time, you grow up and you go to school and you get out and you have this idea, I'm gonna have this great job and make all
Yeah.
this money and I
Yeah.
can do
Yeah.
all these things. And then
Yeah.
reality hits and you're like, I'm living paycheck to paycheck.
Adulting. Yeah. When you're, yeah. Yeah. The stuff that they don't
That was
tell
my
us
life.
about that we end up, just kind of, I'm adulting now. So,
In the cycle, right? You just kind of get in that cycle,
yeah.
you
You get in
work.
a routine. Yes.
Yeah, I would take vacation and I would go on a trip,
Yeah.
but extensive travel was just never a thing. And when you do have those vacations, you really are trying to just relax.
Yeah.
So I was in your typical cycle, especially after I got out of school and I was working in education. And so I would do like a trip.
Hmm.
And then in 2016, things started to change.
Okay.
One of my former coworkers, we both used to teach. She taught Spanish and I taught family and consumer science. She left teaching to go teach in Colombia and travel,
Oh,
the
nice.
country Colombia and travel.
Yeah.
And our spring breaks happened to match up from when she had spring break in Colombia and I had spring break in the States.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I'm gonna go backpack. And I was like, I want to go.
I'm doing that.
I want to do, yeah, sure. And it was something I had never done. She was
Yeah.
like, Sha'Niece, we are going backpacking. I want to be very clear. No
Clear.
suitcases,
Yeah.
one bag.
Yeah.
I am a multiple
Girly girl. You're a girly
suitcases.
girl. I'm that girl too. I'm that girl too.
I I
Yeah.
rather have too much than not enough. Okay. I will cobblestone with all of my suitcases. So when she said this, and she was like, I just want to be serious with you, no
Yeah.
suitcases. And
Yeah.
I was like, let me think about this. She goes, I'll
Okay.
send you articles and
Yeah.
videos of how to do it,
Okay.
the right bags to get all this other
Yeah.
stuff. And I said, you know what? I want to do it. I said, Nicole, I'm going to do it. I said, it's going to
Yeah.
be one of the hardest things I
Yeah.
probably have ever done, but I'm going to do it. Not
Yeah.
only did I not buy one of those big bags, I kid you not, I dug for my high school book bag, my high school JanSport book bag. And I said, I'm going to make everything fit in here.
Fit in there.
And I did.
Yeah.
We were gone for a week and I had everything
You
in
need in
a
there.
book bag. I had a pair of um I had two pair of sneakers.
Yeah.
I had like a pair of Nikes that were like really comfortable, and then I
Yeah.
had some Chucks,
Okay.
low top
Okay.
Chucks, and
Okay.
a pair of sandals.
Right.
That's it. A lot
Yeah.
of t-shirts, a lot
Yeah.
of like lycra shorts, a lot of
Right. Right.
bodycon,
Yeah.
Forever 21
Yeah.
dresses.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
did it for a week and I was so proud of myself.
Yeah.
On that trip, also in Guatemala, we were in hostels. I'd never been in a hostel. I didn't even know what that really
Right.
was.
Right.
But we were in
So
really
you
nice.
learn new vocabulary, you learn how to pack differently, basically how to
Okay.
live differently.
And I still look good. All my pictures
Yeah.
also look
And you're like,
amazing.
you know what? The world didn't, collapse. It didn't, I didn't, lose anything. I didn't, because you think if you don't have these things,
Well, how am I
you
gonna
know,
look? Well, what
yeah,
if this happened? And then
right,
I'm looking
right, right. You prepping for stuff that you're calling in that you don't even want. You don't even want that to happen.
and I
Yeah.
still now granted I still will travel
Of course.
overpack and there are times I go and I went to Aruba for 3 weeks. Half of the stuff that I packed I didn't even wear because it's so damn hot down there.
Right.
Like half of the, so I still
Yeah.
have those bad tendencies, but
Right.
it was such a challenge, but it would made it light for us to move because we traveled to about 5 different cities in
Yeah.
Guatemala. But I met so many great people, but I started
Yeah.
to meet other travelers
Right.
and specifically travelers who, though they did not look like me,
Hmm.
I started to meet other travelers and hear about how they traveled that I'd never heard of.
Right.
Most people, Black people who look like me, I knew who lived in other countries, it was because
Right.
they taught. They
Right.
taught in China, they taught in
Right.
Mongolia, they taught
Right. Right.
in UAE, Abu Dhabi,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So again, my association with travel like that was, oh, well, I would have to teach and I don't want to go back into the class.
Right. Right.
I'm meeting these people who were like, I met this one lady from Australia who was like, oh yeah, I had this corporate job, I quit and I came here, I traveled through Central America, all these other different
Yeah.
places, found this place, they needed a bartender and someone to manage their books, and I did that and I've been doing it for 6 months. I met this other kid who was from Canada. He's like, he um, he goes home, he
Yeah.
works, he saves up.
Yeah.
Once he gets that money, he quits his jobs and travels.
Yeah.
And that was
That
his
I mean,
cycle.
so that is Stephanie Perry's story.
Yes.
That is her story. They just had on they. She had this morning on her channel. Rashida joined her. I don't know if you got a chance to
I did. I
take a
did. I'll
yeah,
get to that too, but I want to
because
make
I was going to say I'm going to put that in the description because I mean, we're in the new year,
yeah,
happy 2024. And that's what we're talking about. That's what
absolutely.
everybody's talking about.
Absolutely. And when you hear it,
Yeah.
even for me at that time, this is 2016,
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, but I couldn't see myself doing it
Yes,
because they
yes,
weren't, they, again, nice people, but I'm like, well, they're
yeah.
white. They could do
That's not
that.
mine.
They could,
That's not mine. Yeah.
right. They
That's
don't,
exactly Stephanie's story. Like she was
exactly.
like,
Like
that
there
wasn't
was no
mine. I
identifier.
put myself in that, one, because you don't, well,
You don't see yourself.
I mean, you already know that now we do have examples. We do have examples
Yes.
that look just like us, who literally, if you look in the mirror, you're like, oh my God,
Mhm.
that is me. She's
Oh,
doing exactly what I'm doing. Yeah.
exactly. And so fast forward, like I said, I still, you come back, you get these stories, it's great, but I'm just in that cycle.
Right.
So fast forward, so that's 2016, fast forward to 2021.
Hmm.
Yeah, 2021.
Okay.
After the pandemic. Um, and
Actually, that's just kind of
well, I was
easing
gonna say
out
no
of the
after.
lockdown. Is
Right,
just a better
right
way.
after lockdown, but my job went 100% remote and I could
Okay.
kind of be in
Move
different
around.
places
Okay.
and live, which I
Yeah.
did statewide. So
Uh-huh.
2021, my dog passes away. It
Oh.
was extremely devastating. And I remember kind of being in the fog for like 2 weeks.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I one day was like, what is it like to live somewhere else? I need something different. I was going
Yeah.
through the grief and I was like, I want to
Right.
be somewhere
Yeah.
else. And I literally go on YouTube and I type Black people in other countries.
Yeah.
And I stumbled across a lot of videos of like living in Asia and
Yeah.
teaching. And I'm like, okay, I've heard it. Again, I have friends. So I
I
don't, I already,
know.
I
Yeah.
got that.
Yeah. Yeah. What else you got? What else you got?
So I stumbled across cinnamon, the driven spice.
Okay.
That was the first time I saw someone who was the most closely identified to me because Cinnamon's from the DMV area as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. She sure is.
She's from the DMV area. She's actually pretty close to my age. And so when I'm hearing her talk about moving to Portugal, and she had a few interviews with other people who either moved to Portugal, some people South America, and then I saw the interview she had with Stephanie Perry.
Yeah.
So then I go to Stephanie's page.
And
I
it
was
just
hooked. I was
you
hooked because
blew it out of the yeah. I
because
know.
at that time between Cinnamon and Stephanie's videos, a lot of them, it was the what I like to call like the main catalyst, if you will, or the kind of Mount Rushmore of Black girl travel. It
Right.
was Stephanie, it was Adelia, it was
Rashida.
Cinnamon,
Yeah.
and it was Rashida, and they had Cinnamon had an interview with a guy, a
Oh,
Black guy who retired military who had
okay.
traveled.
Okay.
But to me, those are my four Mount Rushmores. I'm
Right.
like, when
Right.
you get into this
Yeah.
community, those are generally the first
Right.
four you probably
Right. Right.
hear and follow and all that.
Yeah.
So then I go down the rabbit hole of Stephanie's videos, and I remember exactly when it was. I was watching it on a Thursday, and
Mhm.
I was watching the replays, and she said she does this thing on Saturday mornings. And so I was like, well, let me catch this Saturday morning thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was hooked.
Yeah.
But what was so beautiful was I see Cinnamon, who looks like me, who's from my area, who did it. And then I see Adelia, who is a former teacher
Right.
who did it. So I'm now seeing people and hearing these stories that are so similar to me that I now
Yeah.
can say, oh, I can absolutely
I
do
can
it. And
do
so
this. Yeah.
and that's what it was. Because once I
Yeah.
saw them and I saw it, these weren't the bloggers who have these beautiful pictures and they're doing all these things. It's like
And they kind of make it look like it's like I
it's
got to be doing
unattainable.
this to yeah, it's not, easily attainable.
Yeah.
One thing that I feel like both Rashida and Stephanie, and let's go ahead and throw in Cinnamon and Adelia, is they put it out there in such chewable chunks
Yes.
that you not only can eat it up, you eat
Yeah.
it up with bowlfuls of it,
Yes.
bowlfuls of it, because you can see yourself actually doing it and like, all I got to do is go and decide that I don't want to be in this toxic job anymore, or I don't
Yep.
want to be in the toxic, relationship anymore, and just go left because I've been going right and it ain't working for
It ain't
me.
working.
Yeah,
And not only that, it's not this idea of do it in a month. You
right,
can do that. You can quit your job and travel
right.
for free in 30
Which
days.
sounds
It's
like a
not that.
gimmick.
there's no
Yeah.
gimmick. It's very, and then once, over time of just being a part of the community, finding other women, then doing Exodus Summit, a lot of it was find your lane, find what works for you. There
Yeah.
were women who I met who were like, look, I got a 2-year plan.
Uh-huh.
Black Zit Global, I
Yeah.
followed a lot of her stuff.
Yeah.
I was in Portugal first. I visited Portugal and I had sent her some stuff. I'm like, hey, check out some videos and stuff I did, because
Yeah.
she was planning. But when I first found Black Zit Global and hearing all those interviews, she was like, look, this is a 2-year thing for me. It
Mhm.
is a process,
Mhm.
it is a cycle. I got steps. Like
Yeah.
everything wasn't just drop it, do it now. Some were
Right.
drop it and do
Right.
it over time. There were
Right.
so many different plans. When I first started, I was like, I'm just gonna go to Portugal. I'm gonna live. I loved it and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
I visited, did my scouting trip and came back. And then my mind changed, but I never thought, oh, I can't do it now because it's
Okay.
not the same. It was, maybe I'll
Mhm.
do part-time. What does
Right.
that look like
And
and how
then
do I
here's the
plan?
thing, and they actually said this on the video this morning is if it's not working, you can come home.
Yep.
That's the thing about home.
Yep.
It's always there. Yeah.
I'm very blessed right now. I'm living in my mom's house because,
Okay.
and I'll give a very small
Yeah.
footnote about that. But my mom, I'm really blessed with family and mom and cousins
Yeah.
and everyone in my life where
Mhm.
I've been able to take those type of risks because I'm like, worst case scenario, I'm just gonna go home.
Just go
I
home.
will I will
Yeah.
have a place to sleep
Yeah.
that is safe
Yeah.
and warm. I will have
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
I will have money. If it's my
Yeah.
cousin, I gotta pay her back.
Yeah.
But I will have money. But I'm also well educated. I'll
Yeah.
be at Starbucks making
Right.
coffees if I
Yeah.
got to. I'll
Yeah.
Uber if I got to
Yeah.
get back
Yeah.
on my
Because
feet.
if
I
you have
can
to
always
pivot
find.
in a way that will get you back to whatever that track is that you were on. Because I think you mentioned that when you gave us your, Happy New
Yeah.
Year, like, you had to pause and this is what you're getting back to, your
Right.
travel goals.
Yeah.
And that's the
And
thing, be okay with give yourself the grace to do that. And I don't think we do enough of that as
oh,
I want to
absolutely not.
say as Black women, particularly because I am one. Um, but just in the society we live in, we don't. We're not taught to, give ourselves that kind of grace and ease and pause. You
Yep.
know.
Oh
Um,
no, you're 100% right. And we one thing I think is beautiful about the community. Um, so so basically the last 2 years for me, when I came back from Portugal, I kind of changed what I wanted to do.
okay.
But then I got caught up, what I like to say, I got caught up in the American dream all over. I moved back, I had gotten a new job.
Okay.
I then gotten approved to get a house. I
Uh,
was like, oh, maybe I can get a house and,
yeah.
maybe have that as,
Yeah.
my base here and then I can
Yeah.
travel. And I got caught up in that and bought a
Yeah.
house and then I lost my job. And then
Okay.
I got a new job, but I had to move back home, back here to Maryland. And
Okay.
then I had this house and I'm like, I couldn't sell it because the
Right.
market was
Because
terrible.
the
So then I had
market
to
was
keep renting.
crazy. Yeah.
So in 2 years, I put this whole plan together and I executed
Yeah.
so well in
Mhm.
2021 going into 2022
Yeah.
that just that moment of getting back caught up into the American
Mhm.
dream and
Mhm.
doing the Black girl magic things and doing
Gotcha.
what I thought was best for my life.
Right.
And I don't regret it,
Right.
but it then threw me so far off to the point where I was like, I was barely able to travel and do anything anywhere.
Okay.
So what got me back on track was I was able to get a renter in my home, thank God.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, great. That's like, whew,
That's
I'm
fine.
not paying my
Yeah.
mortgage on me.
Right. Yeah.
It's occupied. We
Okay.
we got all that stuff settled.
Yeah.
Great. The job I have, and I say have as in now, but
Mhm.
won't very soon.
Mhm.
The job I have was unfortunately, like many Black women, a it was trash. It is
Okay.
a mess,
A
and
stressor. Okay.
it's just a mess, and it's I'm a chief of staff at a nonprofit, and I love my staff members. I have one of the best staffs ever,
Yeah.
but the organization is just not serving me,
Yeah.
and it's just not where I need to be
Mhm.
anymore.
Mhm.
And when you get to a point similar to Adelia, what she calls it, your FU money,
Yeah.
I got to a point after everything with my home and my salary and savings all where I had some FU money. And
Yeah.
when you get to that point and your job start acting a
So you
little,
bye, girl. Bye, girl. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
you be like,
Yeah.
I
Why
don't
am I doing
need
this? Why am I
this.
stressing? Yeah.
Why?
Because I don't have to. And
I
we
don't.
again goes back to that kind of you're taught or you have this kind of in the back of your head, oh, well, that's what everybody else, my mom did, my grandmama did, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And you're thinking, well, I can't do that. But then when you do exercise that muscle and step out on faith and knowing that, wait a minute, I'm not going to fall. I'm not
Never,
going to fall. And if I do,
never.
here's the thing, I'm not going to fall and break if
Yep,
I do fall.
yep. I
I'm
fall,
not
I
going to fall.
learn.
I'm going to learn a lesson
Yep.
and I'm going to get back up and I'm going to be able to be stronger and better.
In the words of the great Kendrick Lamar, we gonna be all right.
Right.
We gonna be all right. So that's what happened over these
Yeah.
honestly, it happened over these past few
Yeah.
weeks. I got to a place and stuff would work, and I was like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Is this necessary?
Yeah.
So outside of just like, okay, I need to look for a new job.
Yeah.
I also thought to myself, well, instead of going straight into finding a new job, because I will. I tell
Mhm.
people all the time, even some of my coworkers, I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
gonna be fine.
Yeah.
I was hired before,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be hired after, and y'all
Yeah.
hired me.
Yeah.
You weren't the only person who wanted to
Right.
hire me.
Right.
I'm gonna be
Yeah.
straight. I will
Yeah.
find something. Don't worry about that, and I
Yeah.
don't worry about the
And
money.
here's the thing, you're gonna have them knocking at your door. They're
Absolutely.
gonna be knocking at your door. And the reason why I say that is it's a whole mindset.
Yes.
It's a mindset. And when you have so similar, somewhat similar to you, I was in this toxic job and I even had my therapist on a weekly basis because I was literally crying, you
I've
know,
been there.
and she was on a weekly basis saying, I need you to leave this job. I
Mhm.
need you to leave because that's all I was talking about, right? So we knew what the problem was. And I had this little voice, and I know what jumping out on faith feels like. I've
Yeah.
done it before, but for some reason, I was like not listening to her, not listening to what I feel and see, disease was just coming in, sitting down, unpacking, like had a key, and I was like, I need my key back. Like, stop it. What are you doing? And soon as I made the decision to say, wait a minute, but you believe in yourself, you know you got this. You know that if you fall, you can all you gotta do is dust yourself off, sis, and get
Yep.
back up. You got a community. I have accountability partners out the wazoo, you
Yep.
know, cheerleaders who are there to hold me up in so many different ways. I didn't believe in myself at the time.
Mhm.
And that's what it was. And I had to come back around to that. And once I did that, it was see you bye.
Yeah,
See
and
you bye.
it's I told, other friends and people, like, it's okay.
Mhm.
I think it's especially when you're in this type of group and community,
Yeah,
we get it, but the outside world doesn't. And there are things that I think are really beneficial to do when you're coming up with your goal or coming up with your goal, reworking or refocusing your goal, is that everybody does not have to understand it.
right.
That was one thing
Yeah,
mentally I had to understand. I'm like, "You're just not gonna get it. I'm
yeah,
gonna be alright.
yeah,
I'm gonna do what serves me." I have friends who are like, "You just be moving like you done lived there, you did, then you popped up, you go here." I'm like, "Why can't you just be
yeah,
stable?" Because I don't want to.
right.
I'm
And
happy
stable
moving.
is this is my stable.
Right, right. That's what I and
This is
I
my
said to tell a
stable.
friend, I was like, "I am stable." I
Yeah,
said, "My mom, my aunt, my cousins, I know exactly where they live. I
yeah,
know exactly where they're gonna be when I come
yeah,
back,
yeah.
and God's willing, at any point in
Mhm.
time, I know where they are, so I have stability. I know
Yeah,
exactly where checks can
yeah,
go. I know where my
yeah,
mail can go, and
right,
it's gonna be there when I get
right,
back.
right.
I feel stable.
Yeah,
One of the other things is like, well, what are you searching for? I'm like, I'm not searching for anything. I'm going out to experience life.
yeah,
This is how I want to experience life.
right.
And people may be listening, and these are phrases you've probably heard, well, what you gonna do to make money? I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Money, I have had three
And that's
dollars
kind of
in
my
my
business. Yeah,
right.
that's kind of my business.
I've
So
had
don't
three
worry
dollars in
about
my checking account and three thousand
it.
dollars in my checking account.
Yeah,
It'll work itself
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Here's
It's
money
fluid.
comes and goes. Your time
Yes.
doesn't.
Yeah,
Your time
absolutely.
doesn't.
Absolutely. And most of the time, and I don't know, did you attended the 2023 Exodus Summit?
No, not the 2023
Okay.
one. I
So
was, yeah, not the 2023 one.
so in that one, which was time freedom, financial freedom, and it was three things. It was three freedoms. I can't think of it. But
Mhm,
anyway, one of the presenters, uh, Cassandra Freeman,
mhm,
she spoke about how she moved to Mexico with her two children. And someone asked her, well, how did, your family and friends, react to your decision to move and leave the States? And she said, I got a lot of, negativity. She's saying, honestly, I wasn't expecting the amount of negativity. But what came from that, and she kind of stepped aside and she was like, wait a minute, you've never done this.
yeah,
These are your fears
yeah,
that I'm getting ready to take on that's not mine.
yeah,
This is, and so don't you leave the States because you're
yeah,
not ready, obviously. She's
yeah,
like, but I'm gonna do this because this is what's best for my family.
yeah,
This is what's best for me. Right. And if
yeah,
if she's good, then her kids are gonna be good, right? And it's that, kind of not taking on the stuff that's not yours.
yeah,
These are your fears. You want to question me on, what are you going to do for a living? How are you going to, I got it. I wouldn't have come to you and told you this is my plan if I didn't have all those things already thought about or in a plan, you
yeah,
know. So don't poo-poo because once I tell you what
yeah.
it is, you're gonna have a reason for that not being right. And it's gonna, be this cycle. And I can't. Yeah.
And a lot of it, these are people who love you and they are concerned.
Yeah.
But these are also people who, and I say people in general, whether it's family or friends,
Yeah.
like I don't have a lot of that pressure personally because
Mm.
my family, my friends know me.
Yeah.
Like they already
There she
know.
goes. Yeah.
Me saying, yeah, I'll probably, spend about 2 months traveling. They're like, all right, because they
Okay.
already know Shawnee's gonna do
Yeah.
whatever she want to do
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah.
She's very smart and resourceful.
Yeah.
She will
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah.
If she's leaving, she's definitely in a financial space to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I generally don't take those type of gambles and not have,
Yeah.
my money and my money and my money's
Right.
money.
Right. Right.
Um, and so my family's kind of used to it, but I am familiar with what some of that can look like specifically in our community.
Hmm.
And I think it compounds with age. I think
Hmm.
it compounds with kids.
Yeah.
I don't have kids.
Hmm.
So there's also that there's certain things that people aren't going to worry about me because they're like, well, it's just her. Whereas when you do have kids, well, what about the kids? And they not going to be in school and they going to be that. They probably going to get the best schooling. One of the big
Yeah.
things I would be in the
That's what she
comments
said.
in Stephanie Perry's stuff. And you
Yeah.
always get every now and again, oh, well, is it safe? Look up the peace index. You will find I am more afraid to go into a mall in the United States than I am walking around uh
Mexico.
for
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never felt
Yeah.
nervous,
And I
scared.
always say when I see those things is that's fear. That
It's
is your
fear.
fear.
Yeah,
You're trying to put something in front of it to keep you from doing it, from doing
absolutely.
that thing, from doing
Absolutely.
that thing. Yeah. So let me
There's
talk
times when America is more dangerous than war-torn countries. So I'll be like, don't
exactly.
worry about that. Food is better. It's the best. Food tastes better. The water's good, and so it's like you get rid of some of those, right? And I've also, you know, I would be in the comments also helping in those
Yeah,
spaces
yeah,
to give women the assurance, right? Because that would be a thing like, oh, what about the food and the water and all that stuff? And I remember one time someone kept talking about the water, you know, you got to buy water bottles. I was like, well, where do you drink your water? Do you drink from your tap? And she was like, oh, no, I get, you're going to do
so
the same
then
thing in another country.
yes, why is it a thing differently that you got to frown on and pause and be like, oh, I can't
Right.
go there because I got to drink the water. You don't drink it over in
You
Atlanta.
don't drink it here.
You
Nobody,
don't
I
drink
don't
it in
know anyone.
Atlanta.
Right, I don't
Yeah,
know anyone who drinks tap water. You
nobody.
buy bottled water,
Nobody. Yes,
filters. You would do the same thing in another country. And I remember
exactly.
this person being like, dang, you right. I am kind of making this stuff up. I was like, it's
Yeah,
okay. It's
yeah,
okay. There are
yeah,
times when I remember going to Guatemala and it's like, hey,
yeah,
you know, use water for everything. And I'm like, why am I doing this? But
yeah.
I downstairs, there's literally a pack of water from Costco. You
Right.
get these things sometimes,
Right.
and it's like, and the water's cheaper there. So for me, I think, you know, it's like I said, for me and my circle and the people in my life, this is not a big thing.
Hmm.
But this year, you know, when we talk about goal setting, I was listening in this morning to Stephanie and Rashida, and it was because I was like, I needed some of those reinforcements, some of those
Hmm.
things that I kind of forgot over the
Right.
past years. And I would
Right.
pop in every now and then, but like I said, I just kind of got caught up, right, in
So
life.
let me pause you more about what your goals are for 2024, and we're gonna go into that a little bit more. I
Yes.
want to talk about how you got to creating those goals.
Oh, yes, yes.
So yeah, we'll get